guys, Jessica from Peace Love Books, and today I'm here with the mid-year book freakout tag. So I'm sharing all of my favorite, least favorite, surprising, disappointing, all that fun stuff that I've read so far in 2020. I have read 188 books so far as of today, and I am super proud of that number. I am hopefully going, I don't know if I can break 400 this year. We'll see. I've been a reading machine this past month that I'm on summer break, and so I've a lot of good books to share with you. I'm super excited to chat with you about all the books I've read so far and the standouts to me. So the first question, starting off strong, is your favorite book of the year. So I have a stack and I'll just run through them real quick. First one, Business Casual by Danielle Allen. Amazing office romance. Super spicy because it's a forbidden romance. She just gets hired. They're not allowed to date. They see each other anyways. This one is so good. One that I recently read is Parallel by Elizabeth O'Rourke. This one is a time traveling kind of soulmate situation, and she's been dreaming about him since she was little, and now she's engaged to someone and meets the guy from her dreams and knows everything about him, and apparently she can time travel. So amazing. I haven't read book 2 yet. No surprise there. I never finish series when I want to, even when I'm super excited about them. But then another Elizabeth O'Rourke is Waking Olivia. This was my first book by her. A lot of these I read literally in January. I also, let me grab one more. So many that were my favorites so far, and I can't just pick one. So Waking Olivia, she's a cross-country runner and he is the cross-country coach. She has gone through a lot in her past though, and that's why she is very hard to work with. She was kicked out of her school and is now running for a D3 school, and they fall in love. Not a huge age gap, but definitely forbidden. Then we have Beautifully Broken Control by Catherine Cowles. I just love this small town romance. He is super rich. She is running from a past where her dad was only rich because he stole from people and stole their money, and so she is horrified and just living a life that is the opposite of her luxurious life she grew up in, and she donates a lot and volunteers a lot, lives in this small town. The hero immediately puts her off because the money is not something that she's attracted to, and he's not used to that. He's super protective of her. Very good. And then Second Semester by QB Tyler. I feel like QB Tyler is always going to end up on a favorites list every year I read her. This one is a father's best friend, workplace romance. She gets a job at the law firm her dad works at with his best friend, and huge age gap, single dad, super, super good. His son's like a teenager though. So then of course we have to have Still Beating by Jennifer Hartman. One of the darkest romances I read, but so good. They're kidnapped together, survive together, and then fall in love even though he is her sister's fiance. And then the one I had to grab off of my shelves that I completely forgot is Praise by Sarah Kate. This is ex-boyfriend's dad, and it is amazing. She needs to go to his office to pick up half of her deposit for their apartment because the dad paid for it and she wants her money back, and the dad has the money and she's not talking to her ex anymore. So she shows up. He thinks she is his new secretary at his kink club, and asks her to get on her knees, and she is confused but intrigued, and it's so good, and I'm excited to read more. Definitely gonna talk about Sarah Kate more in this video. The next one is Best Sequel, and this is hard for me because I do not continue series. It is not by choice. I am just always wanting to read something, and I feel like, oh, I've already read one book, like I can put that aside and I need to go read all these other things. So I'm just gonna choose Juniper Hill by Devney Perry. This one I read recently, and I just wrote my review of it on Goodreads and just was remembering everything about this book that I absolutely loved. Like, I liked Indigo Ridge, but people are so right that Juniper Hill is just so much better, and we got to see the start of the book and the end of book 1, and it's a single mom. She's running away from a very rich lifestyle, and she's a single mom, and we don't know who the father is, and she's refusing to talk to her family, and she's cut off from them too, and she moves above the garage of our hero, and he's a very grumpy tattooed chef, and he shows his love through cooking, and it is so cute, and he has a very damaged past of his own that he shares with her, and I love this book so much, so I gave it 5 stars. Super happy I read it. Definitely better than book 1. Great sequel. The next one, I gotta figure out what my piles are right here. So it is new releases I haven't read yet. I'm not gonna have one book for all of these, so I have 5. The first one, Eyes on Me and Give Me More, I think is book 3. I have to read more Sarah Kate. I'm super excited. She's like just flying out with books this year. This one I think is Step Sibling and has to do with voyeurism, and very excited for that. And then book 3 is a menage, I think it's like a married couple and the husband's best friend. Then I have Ivy by Will and Ash. My friend Tori from Live a Novel Life literally read this in one day and said it was absolutely amazing. She couldn't put it down, so that made me super excited to read it. This is actually Devney Perry's pen name, and I'm really, really excited. I think she said it followed like multiple couples, and it's got like lots of secrets, and I cannot wait to read that. We also have My Killer Vacation, which again, Tori had said she actually really enjoyed, so I was very hesitant with this one because I've seen a lot of mixed reviews. It is like a cozy mystery, and he's a bounty hunter and she is a teacher. So perfect summer read. I'm hoping to read this soon while it's still summer. Then one of my newer favorite authors, who I'm going to talk about at a later question here, is Hidden Waters by Catherine Cowles. Catherine Cowles actually sent this exclusive cover to me. The covers of her books are super gorgeous, and she sent books 1 through 3 as a surprise to me because I've been reading this series and absolutely loving it, and so this is book 3 that just came out like last week, and I need to read it. It's small town romance. This one is the girl who escaped from her like family who's very not progressive. I don't know how to put it. They have very traditional roles in the family. They're very cult-like. They think everyone's out to get them. They don't go to doctors, and she actually escaped that at the end of book 1, and this is her story. So I'm really excited, and I think it's friends to lovers as well. And then I also have Weight of Regret by KK Allen. I bought this when I met her in February. It had just come out. She just released the next book in the series, and I am going to see her at another signing, so I might pick that up when I see her. But this one is a age gap, grumpy hero, summer camp romance, so I think they both work there. Sounds good. I love the cover. I really love KK Allen, so I picked that up. And then I also have Someone Else's Shadow by Monica James. This also came out this past week, and it is an amnesia romance, and apparently there's lots of twists and turns in here, and I love Monica James. She has such a wide variety of romances that she writes. She'll write kidnapping romance, she'll write mafia romances, she'll write, they're all pretty dark, Viking romances, but then she wrote like a really super emotional one about someone who had cancer and working at a camp, and I'm really excited to see where this one goes, so I do have a copy on my Kindle that I need to get to as soon as possible. Most anticipated release for the second half of the year. I feel like most of my favorite indie authors recently just released a book, so I don't know what they have next coming out, but Caution to the Wind by Gianna Darling was supposed to come out in March and has been put off indefinitely, but they said we're gonna have an announcement at the end of June. It's June 27th, the day that I'm filming this, so I'm hoping we get an announcement sometime this week. We will see. Hopefully, I'm putting this up I think on July 1st, so hopefully we have an announcement by the day I put this up, but I don't know. It's book 7 in her Fallen Men series, one of my favorite series of all time, and it is Axeman's story. Very excited to get to this. And then we have Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan, and this one is traditionally published, and it is a, I believe, marriage and trouble romance, and I will just literally read anything Kennedy Ryan writes. I'm obsessed with that woman in every book she has ever written, and so I'm very excited for her new release. The cover is absolutely stunning, and I'm gonna read it as soon as I get my hands on it. Okay, so there's just one negative question, and that is biggest disappointment. I actually don't have these anymore. I owned the first one, and I don't think I own the second one. First one is King of Battle and Blood by Scarlett St. Clair. This was like the second book I read in the year. I just didn't like it. I found it really boring, and I just feel like the chemistry wasn't really there, and it wasn't this like epic vampire romance that I was hoping for and that it was described as, so it just wasn't for me. Really disappointed in this one. And then we have River of Shadows by Karina Halley. I was super excited for a fantasy from Karina Halley, but I think I need to stick with her contemporaries because I also didn't like Black Sunshine last year, which is her vampire romance, and this one was so good in the beginning because like her dad died, so she goes, I think it was to Norway, and it's full of mythology, and so she realizes like something fishy's going on, runs away with this guy to like try to get into like the underworld to her dad, and it just quickly lost steam for me, and I quickly lost any care for the story, and I just didn't love it, and it slowed down, and it just wasn't for me. So these two are definitely disappointments, and I will not be continuing on these series. Biggest surprise, the first one I literally finished this weekend and I'm obsessed. That's Honey Trap by Tate James. This is a assassin romantic suspense book. I don't know if it's gonna be polyamorous or not because I've only read book 1, and so far there's not been a decision to be with like all 3 people are gonna be together, but our heroine, she I believe I have this, like, she's an answer for a later question. So she is an assassin, and she's like an elite assassin. Think like Nikita. She has been raised since a child to be this assassin. She gets a job that's pretty much a death sentence, and she thinks someone wants to kill her, and Leon is like a tech bunny is what she calls him. He's super techie, and he's also someone who works for this organization, and he is obsessed with her, literally stalks her and is obsessed with her and super protective of her, and tells her not to go on this job, but she does, and ends up being kidnapped by the guy who is nuts. He is Kai, and he literally, it's a suicide mission because he will kill anybody without a second thought if he even thinks they are trying to go against him. And so he hesitates with her and kidnaps her, and they start falling for each other. And the entire time, she is acting like she's innocent. She is acting like she's just this banker from California, and he is like, do I believe her or not? And he has no idea whether to, and she's starting to fall for him, and it is so good. But it's like Leon and Kai are both love interests, and I'm excited to continue on the series. I was obsessed. Another one that was super surprising is Unhinged by Onley James. This is an serial killer romance. Our hero, who has been raised since birth to harness his psychotic tendencies for good. So he has this innate desire to kill. So this doctor adopted all these psychopaths, and he is telling them who to kill. So they kill bad people. Well, he falls for the son of someone he's killed that actually watched him kill the dad. And so the son kind of learns more about who his dad was and why he was killed, and they fall in love. But what's surprising about this was how dang sweet the romance was. It was so adorable, and they're like killing people, but it was so cute. I really like this. I'm excited to continue on the series. I have not yet, but I want to. Oh, okay, so now we have favorite new author, so I'm just gonna run through them. We've got Jennifer Hartman. I've read 2 of her books, half of another one, and bought another one, so I'm obsessed with her. Sarah Kate, I actually did get to interview Jennifer Hartman too. She was amazing. I got to sit in on the interview and help interview Sarah Kate on Cheyenne's channel from That Tall Book Girl, and had such a fun time. Sarah Kate, I'm so excited to read more from. She's amazing, and she was a teacher as well, which is super fun. But now she's an author. And then I have Catherine Cowles. I have been devouring every single one of her small town romances. I'm obsessed with her. Love that I've picked her books up now. And then Elizabeth O'Rourke, obviously, because I have 2 of her books that I've read that are in my top of the year so far, and I need to read more from her. Obsessed with her books. And Tia Williams, I forgot to grab that. So 7 Days in June, this was the first book I read this year. Absolutely loved it, and I'm so excited to read more from her as an author to see what else she can come up with. I just really loved her characters and the story that she made, and those are all my new favorite authors. That was just like a rapid fire. Then we have newish fictional crush, and I have to go with Rhodes from All Roads Lead here. I loved Rhodes. He is like a grump. He's a single dad. I love the dynamic between his son and his son's mom, and like how that came about. I loved that. He is so grumpy, but he literally will drive hours just to make sure the heroine's okay. And he is so loving and just like shows his love in different ways. He is just protective, and I love that about him. I was obsessed with him. Love this book so much. Definitely a favorite as well that he didn't list in the beginning, but so good. And then I also have Tristan from 5 Rounds by Nicki Castle. I really love this book, and just how many emotions Tristan showed because things got really rough with their relationship. It's hate to love. He's super mean to her, but like in an endearing way, and really pushes her buttons, and then they have to live together, and something happens though where he really does show emotions. He cries, and I just love a hero who is like that in romances, because a lot of times we like the stoic grumpy heroes, but Tristan was just a whole nother level. I loved him. Next is newest favorite character. I'm gonna go with Dani from Honey Trap. I was obsessed with her. I love a female assassin who will get the job done, but she was so funny. She was super attracted to Kai because of his psychotic tendencies, and that was so fun. And someone was literally torturing her, like sticking all these needles in her arm, and she's like, my ear piercings hurt more than this. Like, this guy has no idea how to torture someone. And it was so funny. I loved her so much. And then kind of on the similar vein, another one of my favorite characters is Sasha from Ivan. She's a female assassin. She takes a suicide mission and ends up almost killing Ivan, gets kidnapped by him as well. So I think if you liked Honey Trap or Ivan, you'll like the other one. And I just love the heroine so much and how they are just so go with the flow. Literally her apartment blows up and she just like walks away and she's like, all right, gotta figure this out. And I'm like, you go girl. Like, I love you so much. So definitely 2 of my new favorite characters. A book that made you cry. I honestly, unless you guys remember, I don't think a single book has made me cry this year. I don't often cry in books unless they're like really emotional. Like last year, I think Inked and Lies was one of the only ones that made me cry. I just don't cry in books, so I'm gonna say none. A book that made you happy, I have 3. So first is Heated Rivalry by Rachel Reed. This book is just hockey romance galore, and I was obsessed with it. It's MM. We have Cheyenne and Ilya, and they have been raised to be rivals, and they are on rivaling hockey teams, but when they are together, it is super explosive chemistry, and so they start hooking up, and only hooking up when they're like playing each other, and then they start actually really falling for each other. It's like rivals with benefits to lovers, because they never actually hate each other, but they've always like been pitted against each other. It's so good. And then I also have Parallel. I don't even know where I put that now, again, for this, because I was obsessed. I was obsessed with the angst in here. She's engaged to someone and dreaming about Nick her whole life, that she's married to him, and then they meet him and her fiance is like, excuse me, and she is like, I have been dreaming about this all-consuming explosive love with Nick, and she's like, do I settle for my fiance? And I literally could not put this down. I was obsessed, made me so happy reading it, and then you guys are going to be super excited. So this vlog does not come out until next week, but I am currently in the middle of the takeover. I was actually skeptical because this book is so hyped, like so hyped. People are obsessed with this book, and I started it. I wasn't too impressed with the beginning. Like, we were just dropped in and I'm like, okay, who is this woman? Like, okay, she hates Tristan. Okay, this is hilarious. I am halfway through, and the wizard child, Harry, the way he calls him the wizard child is hilarious. Harry's absolutely bonkers, and I literally was laughing out loud reading this. I got to the conditioner part, laughed out loud. It is so funny, but Tristan literally is obsessed with the heroine and wants her for himself, and I love a hero who goes after who he wants, and that's what Tristan does. This book is making me so happy. I'm not done, but I'm obsessed. So I had to include it in this video. Then we have the most beautiful book you've bought this year, and for me, that has to go to Inked and Lies. This is the Dark and Corky edition, my first Dark and Corky box, and I am obsessed. It is absolutely gorgeous. I would say this is my favorite. I do have some really pretty ones that I have received from Mystic Box and Belle Book Box, but I just think this takes the cake. Books I still need to read. I have a whole stack right here, because why would I say just one? So we have Bittersweet Addiction by Hebe Tyler. I'm trying to finish her backlist. I think I have like 3 more left, 2 of which are novellas, and then this one, this is book 2 in the duet. That's a marriage in trouble. She's cheating on her husband with the counselor, the marriage counselor. Then I'm gonna read this week, but No Tomorrow by Carrie and Cole. I hopefully will have read it by the time this video goes up, but I've heard amazing things and I haven't read it because it's so long, but I really need to read this. I'm definitely gonna read Transcend by Julie Ann. This is a love triangle, and my friend Cheyenne, and I think Sam. So Cheyenne from That Tall Book Girl, and I can't remember if Sam from Sam Reads a Little had read this too or not. I think so. It is a love triangle, and so I really want to read this as well, even though it's a duet. Hopefully I'll read the next one. Then we have Twisted Hate by Anna Huang. I know Nicki from Nicki and Bookland was talking about this in her favorite books of the year so far, and she really loved it. So I read books 1 and 2, and I hope the series just gets better because I thought book 1 was okay. Really enjoyed book 2, so I'm excited for that one. And then the last one is an Elizabeth O'Rourke, because as you guys see, I'm obsessed with her now. This is The Devil in the Deep Blue Sea, and I've seen really good things about this series, and I'm excited to see her more contemporary stuff that I don't think is as angsty. So this is definitely something I need to read. That was my mid-year freakout tag. Let me know down below what your favorite book of the year is, who your new favorite authors are, your most surprising, your new crush. I'd love to hear these answers to your questions, but definitely let me know your favorite read of the year so far. I would love to hear. And that's all I have. As always, thank you so much for watching and have a good day. Bye.